couple of years ago, my brother-in-law and myself went down to Port Charlotte, Florida, and cleaned out parts of my dad's house as he was getting ready to transition into a nursing home facility in Tennessee, and brought back these big toolboxes plus a few roll-around toolboxes that are out in my big shop. But I've been going through these tools, just odd stuff in these boxes, but so we need another project to clean up. Look around here and see. What is that? I think that's a Craftsman. Big Craftsman tap handle. It's loaded down with that Port Charlotte patina, so it's seized up. So I think that'd be a good project for us to work on next. I gotta say, this is probably the biggest tap handle that I own. It's frozen up here, so I will probably try Rodney's trick of spraying it with brake cleaner after I knock some of this rust off of here. So we'll see how that goes. So this one's not in too bad of a shape. It's just a little rusty and froze up, but I think break that free with some brake cleaner and then oil this thing up real good. And then I think it's good to put in the drawer and ready to use. When you hear me say Port Charlotte patina, that's because my dad's shop down there was kind of an open air shop. All of his toolboxes were under a roof, but the doors were always open, and so that Florida humidity just got to him, and when he got into his 80s, he kind of quit taking care of his tools like he did when he was younger. So anyway, if you ever hear me talk about Port Charlotte patina, that's just rust on my dad's tools. We'll let that soak for a minute and take a hammer and tap it and see if we can get that to free up. You hear that noise in the background? It's because it's hot in my shop and I had to turn that air conditioner on. Yeah, it's moving. Look at that rust up under there. Alright, so I'm going to take that back to the wire wheel and get that rust cleaned off of that end. I cleaned that rust off of that end right there, but it's a little bit pitted, I guess, from being seized up for so long. So I'm going to hit it with some 120 grit on the 1x30 machine and see if we can get that smoothed out just a little bit. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is use my red label conditioning belts and work through the grits on that and clean that up a little bit and make it smooth. So I went ahead and hit this whole bar with all three grits on the belt, and that's what it looks like now. So I'll re-blue that, but I wanted to get it smooth out where it'll slide easier. And it's kind of binding up a little bit now, I think, because there's probably still some rust inside of there that I wasn't able to get out. But we're still working on it. So this part is seized up a little bit. I think I can break it loose in the vise here And I've got it, you know, I've already soaked it in that brake cleaner, so maybe it'll be ready to work its way loose without too much effort, right? Yeah, there we go. You see that coming out of there? That's a prime example of Port Charlotte patina. And there's the jaws that hold the tap right there, so we don't want to lose that either. So here's all the pieces of the tap. I've cleaned up everything on the wire wheel except on the inside of there. I'll probably hit that with my Dremel tool. And then we'll clean this up with some acetone and hit it with that super glue and give it a good coat of oil, and we'll call that one good. Alright, I think that's about as good as it's going to get with that wire wheel on there. So next we'll get out the acetone and the cotton balls and clean that thing up. Get all the oil and debris so that when I go to blue it, that bluing will stick better. This acetone dries quickly, and I always like to make sure I'm wearing gloves and definitely some eye protection when I'm using it. See, it's cleaning that old rust off of there that the wire wheel didn't get. I think those are good enough. I'm not going to worry about that. So, all right. Try to leave as much of the original bluing on there as I could, because it's probably better than this cold blue. But to get that handle to slide correctly, I had to clean it down to the bare metal. You see how quickly that turns blue though. I'm not sponsored by Birchwood Casey, but I do like their products. So if you work for Birchwood Casey, send me some samples and I'll talk about it all the time. Same with them Red Label conditioning belts. My belts, I've had them for a long time. They're starting to wear down, and they're kind of expensive on Amazon. Not terribly, but more than you want to pay often, you know. So if you work for Red Label, hit me up. Send me some free samples. I'm just serious. Don't take that as a joke. Alright. So, we'll take that out and rinse it off and coat it with some oil, and we should be done with that project, right? One of you guys remind me to pick up some cotton balls when I go to the store next, because I'm running pretty low. Look how shiny that 3-in-1 makes that. I like to use 3-in-1 because it's kind of a light machine oil, and to me these tools are machines, and it does pretty well protecting it from rusting back up again, so it works for me. WD-40 I use if I'm cleaning something sometimes, but I don't necessarily use that for a lubricant because that's not really what it is. It's a rust protector, but I want that to be lubed where it'll slide in and out of there easy. Alright. These gloves make your hands sweat, and a minute ago I busted one of these gloves and I didn't want to get chemicals, so I put a new glove on. And do you know how hard it is to put a glove on when your hands are sweaty? So that's part of the tricks of working in the shop, I guess. Learning how to do stuff like that. Put a little bit right there. I'm going to leave that oil on there before I wipe it off. I'm going to leave it on there overnight and just let it set and protect that metal. But I think that came out all right. That was a quick, fun little project, right? So let me know what you guys think. What else you want to see out of my dad's old toolbox? Clean up that Port Charlotte patina as best we can and preserve that American history, right? Y'all have a good week, the rest of the week, and thanks for watching.